welcome to the V-Spot. I'm Vicky.
And I'm Velvet.
Hi.
Hi.
It's been a while since we've talked, actually.
It has. We've had a little bit of a hiatus.
We have.
Yeah.
A recording hiatus. Behind the scenes.
How do you feel about a hiatus?
You know what? I think it's okay.
Weird hiatus? Hiatus?
Yeah. I think it's fine. You know, like when you talk every week, you eventually just kind of run out of things you feel like talking about.
You actually think we run out of things to talk about?
I think we do.
We don't.
No, I don't think we do either. I was thinking about the podcast though, and like, since you mentioned hiatus, like, do podcasts like run all year?
I don't think so.
Or do you take like a...
That's a lot of weeks of podcasts.
Or do you take like a summer
I feel like
season off?
I don't know. Do they take us? Do you think they pre-record?
I think maybe they
I mean, we've done that a bit too.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like some of the podcasts we listen to
have little bits of
breaks.
Maybe?
I don't know. I don't pay attention.
Stay tuned. We'll have to talk to our production manager to see what he thinks a good idea for us will be. Mm-hmm. And you'll all find out when we find out, apparently. Okay, so there's a couple of things that housekeeping. So we had an episode where we talked about it was on V versus V, where we talked about the use of cocaine.
Oh no. Yeah.
Apparently it is a big deal. We've been told.
I haven't been told.
Yes, it was in a group message with you that FYI, you guys are downplaying it. It actually is a big deal.
I did not see that text
message. You didn't?
No, I definitely did not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's there for sure.
Oh, so Coke is a big deal.
Coke is a big deal.
Okay.
We downplayed it.
Okay.
So kids at home,
don't do Coke.
Don't do Coke. We didn't, our intention.
We weren't telling people to try Coke.
We weren't telling people to try Coke.
It was more of a Coke over heroin situation. And I still feel that Coke is better than heroin.
I stand by what I said.
Yeah.
I just don't want anyone to think like
we're not drug users.
No.
This was a this or that.
Obviously, we don't know what's a big deal and what isn't a big deal. Like, we obviously have no idea.
Like, oh, it's just Coke.
It's just Coke. I think we just kind of had maybe that energy about it. I don't know.
It's because it was was it you or was it me? And so the answer was we had to choose.
But it was heroin that we had. But then we got into the whole Coke conversation.
Yeah.
Apparently, we downplayed it a little bit.
I actually just listened to that episode yesterday. I had a long drive, and so I listened to it back again, and I was like, we really talked about cocaine.
We
for
really
a long
did.
Time. Too much Coke talk.
There was way
and
too
now
much
we're talking about it again.
Oh my gosh, you guys, we're so sorry. There's just sometimes I also noticed in that episode that we talked about something and then came back to it again at the end.
To Coke.
And also to me being jealous over the
right.
Nick. I'm like, oh, okay.
There's a lot.
Let it go. We were a little like, whatever. You know what? This podcast is about how we communicate, and that is so exactly what we do.
Moments all the time.
We're all over the map. It's actually shocking that we can stay focused on here as much as we do, because we are a little bit like all over.
And we don't edit it generally either. So
no, we don't edit it.
You get exactly what we're given.
You're getting, and we don't like even predetermine what we're going to talk about. We just kind of
always, no, you just wing it.
Just dive into it. Yeah. Anyways, that was the housekeeping. I just felt like
don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. You want to? We got the 23andMe.
Oh yeah. So this is going to be fun. These came in the mail.
For our listeners, she's holding up 2 23andMe kits.
They're the saliva collection kits. We both done the ancestry before, but this one is a little bit more involved. This also tells you different illnesses and stuff that you're
if you're like
predisposed to, I guess, or like lots of different things.
Yeah, like what type of like metabolism you have. I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up.
No, it's a lot of things. They better be, because they weren't cheap. So, but we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna read them live on the air, because everybody wants to know what kind of diseases we might get one day.
You know what we want to know.
I know.
It's interesting to us. So if you don't want to listen to 23andMe, don't listen to it.
You know what's funny is if it doesn't say on there that I should have misophonia, I'm gonna not be happy.
I will actually question the like validity of the test. If
or
it
it'd be interesting to see if things, because I have Crohn's disease. It'd be interesting to see if it actually comes up.
The misophonia thing, if it doesn't come up, does that mean you're just a bitch?
No, it's an actual thing.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I am a bitch too sometimes, but no, the way that sounds make me irate can't be normal.
Explain misophonia for people who might not know.
It's phobia, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
It's misophonia.
Misophonia.
Yeah. It's basically just being irritated by sounds is ultimately
but not
what it
just
is.
Mildly irritated.
Like rip people's faces off irritated. Like chewing. And a lot of people are annoyed by chewing, but it's breathing. It's not annoyed. It's actual, I want to rip people's faces off. And it's not everybody. It's just certain people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one of the things that it can say. I was reading the kid ahead of time and I was like, how on earth can your
I don't know
saliva tell you that? But
there must be some sort of like marker in your chromosomes.
A crazy marker?
I wonder, yeah. I wonder how many, like, how they would even like, they interview people who have this certain marker and they all say they have this.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I was just even impressed that it had a name, because for a long time I actually thought I was just angry and crazy. And then Kelly Ripa actually said it on Regis and Kelly years ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, because she has it, so she put a name to it. I was like, oh, there's a name for it. And it just made me feel a little bit better.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the first time I remember it happening, I was in grade 7. There was a sleepover at my house, and one of the girls was eating chips, and I wanted to pull her face off.
Right.
And that's my earliest memory of it.
Are you able to remove what's happening with that person and the person? Like, do you hold a grudge after? Like, you just want to be around that person? Like, if they just drove you crazy with the sounds, are you just kind of annoyed at that person for the next little while?
Yeah. Like, thinking about it is making me angry. That's how angry. Like, I can feel my blood kind of like boiling a little bit.
And that's the thing, though. It's like nobody likes chewing sounds or chewing with your mouth open. Like, it irritates. It sparks kind of anger in most people, but this is next level.
100%.
Okay, so we'll see if the 23andMe comes back with the like.
That would make me feel better about life if it's like you're
predispositioned.
Thank you for predisposed for misophonia. I would be very happy with that.
Do any of your kids have it?
McKenna has it.
Oh,
shocking.
Of course she does. Yeah, that
big
lines up.
Shocker.
Yep.
Yeah, no, she runs the minute she hears something she doesn't like. What was I doing? It just happened like 15 minutes ago. Oh, the dog was chewing on the bone, and we were both sitting up in my room, and she's like, nope, and she left.
I feel like maybe Dean has it a little bit, but
the dogs don't bother me, which is funny. The dogs can sit there on like chewing on a rawhide, making those noises. I don't even notice it. It drives Kyle insane though. And really? Kyle isn't annoyed by any noises like that. But the dogs annoy him, and the dogs don't annoy me. And they should, because they sound disgusting. Just
I think
sitting
it's
and chewing and chewing and chewing.
I think it's people. People is different.
I guess.
I also think sometimes somebody you know might be worse than somebody you don't know.
Oh, for sure it is. And it's only certain people I know. It's not everybody I know. I know the people. I know to stay away.
Oh no.
I eat dinner by myself every night. Let's put it that way. I can't even be. It's just not worth it for me to be around people, because I just sit there angry, and then I will yell at some point. And it's not fair to them either. So I go eat in my bedroom.
It's like a borderline disability.
It
my goodness. It's a good thing you didn't have like a 52 siblings that you had to sit around the table with.
And like be forced to sit and listen. Mind you, I had to sit at the table when I was growing up. People in my family drive me insane. So like the chewing.
I wonder if people with ADHD are more predispositioned for it too.
Well, I wonder if that's in there too.
Wonder. Okay, I'm excited. I'm going to take it home tonight. And
we'll spit tonight.
We won't do it on the podcast.
So gross.
That would have been so fun.
No.
Okay, so I wanted to bring up something it's a bunch of, okay, I'm going to you can follow my train of thought with this, and then we can backtrack if we need to. But we've been me and you have been talking about it a little bit. We talked about it with another friend, but the whole concept of the default parent. For people who don't know what the default parent is, it comes up lately a lot. Like, it's been kind of like a word or a phrase I've been hearing like on TikTok and stuff, where one person, for the sake of this conversation, I'm just going to say marriage, heterosexual, because that's my only frame of reference.
Right.
I'm sure in same-sex couples there is a default parent.
Of course.
I know nothing about that dynamic, so I'm just going to
speak on what you know.
Speak on what I know. Mm-hmm. There's, anyways, in a marriage, there's typically a default parent, and that parent generally is the mom, which is fine. It's default parent being like the person who makes the appointments, knows when the kids' schedule is making lunches, is taking the kids to school, is keeping track of doctor's appointments and dentist appointments.
The one who has to organize the life of the family.
Yeah, the literal house manager. Mm-hmm. It makes sense that someone has to do that. Like, you can't have two people managing. It makes sense. My theory on this, though, is that a lot of moms end up doing it because, like, maybe they have like parental leave, they have time to do it, they're the mom, it's more of a maternal thing to do, maybe they're not working, maybe they're working part-time, they just have more time for some reason. There might be like societal pressure for the mom to take those things on.
Right.
Husbands figure it's not their job for whatever reason. So my theory on this is, I wonder if, so as time goes on, you're doing more and you're doing more and you're doing more. There's so much like, and then you might go back into the workforce, right? So now you're working full time and still doing all this. Mm-hmm. And then the kids stop needing you and your responsibilities become less and less, but you're still spinning. Mm-hmm. So you're like still managing in your mind, right? I'm wondering if so many women of our age have anxiety and crippling anxiety because they've had 15, 20 years of managing mm-hmm. and like carrying the mental load of the household with literally no relief from it.
I think it probably started because back in the day, mm-hmm. women didn't work, right? So it was more an easier thing. Of course, you're not working, you manage the house. That's just
totally,
it makes sense. Nowadays, the majority of women work outside the mm-hmm. home as well. So I definitely think it should be more of a shared job, but it's not. It generally falls on the women, mm-hmm. primarily, from people that we've spoken to anyway. It generally falls on the woman. I think there's extremes. I think in some houses, when both parents are working outside the house, sometimes they will still share chores, that type of thing, at least, right? But the kids and whatever schedules, that's still on the mom. But I think there's some very traditional households still where the dad literally goes to work, comes home, and that's it, right? Even if the mom is still outside the house working, she'll still be the one doing the housework, the cooking, all that type of thing, right? Yeah. And I think it's just one of those unspoken things sometimes that it just, you just inherit it as a woman.
Yes, you do inherit it as a woman.
Which is bullshit.
It is.
Yeah. Because like you said, we've talked about this before. It's a lot to be the manager of, depending on how many kids you have too. Like, there's 3 in my house and they were all going in different directions. Yeah. And I have a very helpful husband, but it's still a lot on me because he wouldn't know unless I tell him where people are going. He doesn't know where people are going or what's happening, right? He's good about helping when I'm like, that kid needs a ride, but sometimes that's not even the case. Sometimes the husbands aren't even helpful with that, or the partner isn't helpful with that part, right?
Yeah, so I mean, we both have like partners that we can tell them where to go and they make it happen for us or whatever, and we're very lucky that way. But a lot of people do not have that. It is on them entirely. Like, when husband gets home, he's off. When woman gets home, she's not off. Ever. There's cooking to do now. There's cleaning to do now. There's picking up kids. There's dropping off kids.
And even if there's not that, like physical, there's a birthday this weekend. I got to make sure that there's a present bought for that birthday. There's there's so many little things that add up to be so much for the person who's in charge of all that.
There's, especially in elementary school with school, there's picture day. This day, that day, forms to be filled out. Mother's Day, this. make sure they have the rubber boots for the field trip this day, field permission slips. Like and if you have more than one kid, it's almost impossible to keep track of that all, plus work full time or even part time or not at all. Like,
do you think that, and again, we're just generalizing here because this seems to be the norm, but do you think guys just don't even think about it? Like it doesn't even enter their head just because women generally just do it, or we already just have? Like, do you think it even pops in their head? Like, I wonder if the kids need to be anywhere this weekend, or is it just assumed that they'll be told if something needs to happen?
That's exactly what I'm curious about, because at what point does this start? Like, if the wife was, or the girlfriend, whoever, the partner was like, I'm just not gonna worry about it, would the husband then step up and be like, well, no, wait, the kid, they were invited to so-and-so's birthday party this week and we need a gift?
Would they even know that they were invited? No, because the kid wouldn't even relate that to, the dad wouldn't have even seen the invitation. That would have come home in the kid's backpack. The mom would have unpacked the backpack.
I don't think the husband's like go through backpacks looking at what's coming home.
No.
Single dads obviously take those roles on and do it. They're capable. But the second there's a partner in the house, it's like,
but why is that? But why does
I think it's an inherited mentality because their moms did it in their household. So that's what the moms do.
I don't like it.
I also think though that, like, we as women, would you trust your husband to manage all that?
And that's the problem, is that, like, it's a running joke in our house that, like, birthdays, Christmas, Kyle is just as excited for the presents too, because he has no idea what's coming. Like, he doesn't know what the kids are getting for Christmas or birthdays, generally speaking, like, unless there's like a bigger gift or something he has to help me out with it. But usually it's all brand new for holidays. He shows up.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the last time he's checked in for a flight. Like, it's all taken care of for him. Right. All of it. Like, to the point where he has no idea what's happening till we're actually on holiday. Like, he knows where we're going, obviously.
Like, oh, we're on a cruise?
But, like, well, wow. No. So, for instance, the cruise that we went on, the last one we were on, he didn't know the stops. He knew we were going to Mexico, but he didn't have a clue. He just hopped on the cruise and called it a day. Yeah, and this was during COVID. So it was like COVID tests and, like, all these other hoops that you had to go through. I did it, but I'm a bit of a control freak too at the same time. And I don't trust that it will be done. I'd rather just do it myself than have to deal with something done not properly. And then now we're not on a flight.
I think a lot of women do that though. I think we just take it on because it's easier for us to just do it instead of delegate it. And then if we delegated it, we're not going to trust it to be done. Even in households where husbands do the majority of the housework and a ton of the cleaning, Kyle's gonna kill me.
You wouldn't have even heard it. It's fine. I think I agree.
My ringer was on for those wondering.
It's all good. No, I definitely think that it's okay. So here's a question: is this something we should be teaching our sons?
Yeah.
That they need to step. And again, some guys are very helpful with that, and they will try and, like, share the load. But the load isn't just, like, physical. There's so much mental load.
I think that's what a lot of men don't understand is they say, well, just tell me what to do, I'll help. I don't think that they're recognizing, this is where the anxiety comes into. I don't think they're recognizing that, like, we're losing our minds with the chaos of what's going on and we can't stop thinking about it. And at night we're trying to coordinate it all in our head and figure it out and schedule this and something new to worry about. There's so much, like, spinning.
It's constant.
That when we lose our shit the next day, the husbands are like, calm down, I can give him a ride to school. It's not a big deal. But it is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, it's.
Do you think we do that with our kids too then? It's just easier just to do it than to teach them to do it or to get them to do it, because at least we know that it's done right. Like, I wonder sometimes if I didn't let my kids fail enough sometimes because of that mentality, right?
Yeah.
You just want to get it done and you can do it right, so you just do it.
Yes.
So is that what we've done with our husbands as well?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of women do it with their husbands and their kids.
Yeah. Like,
I don't know what percentage. I'm shocked to find a mom though that, like, just lets their kids forget their whatever. Like, I was talking to somebody on the phone the other day and she's like, I said something about making sure I don't even know what it was, something, making sure my kid had done something. And she's like, our moms did not worry whether or not what we were doing or where we were going. I feel like we're worse for that than our own mothers are. And our own mothers were very traditional. My mom was a stay-at-home mom for the most part.
I think maybe just weren't as many activities for us.
Yeah, maybe.
We're just pulled in so many more directions now than we would have been back in the day. I didn't do near as much as my kids did at all.
Oh no,
I played school sports.
I did nothing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of one. I think I had like piano lessons that I had to bike to.
Right.
No one's. I didn't even want to go, but I still got on my bike and. Yeah. Life is just, we've just busied our kids so much, and our kids are so busy that we've kind of done it to ourselves.
Maybe.
But now we all have crippling anxiety. And we can't stop managing. So is it all we've ever done?
Is this our fault then?
I think it is our fault. I think men or partners of the default parent. So if you have a partner that is the default parent, and it's obvious they are, I think even just recognizing what they're doing would go so far.
Totally.
Like if they're asking you for help, just do it.
Yeah.
Like don't ask questions.
But sometimes they have to ask questions too, because you imagine if they just started doing something, you've already begun the process, and they just step in. That's annoying too.
That's why there really has to be a default parent. There really has to be a household manager. There has to be. But the trouble is that women are working themselves. We're working full-time, part-time, whatever now. There's very few stay-at-home moms now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're working ourselves into the ground, managing everything plus our jobs. Like, women can't keep going on like this.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not gonna.
So in my house, Kyle's super helpful. I'm really lucky, but I even take care of all the finances and everything too, right? Literally anything to do with the house.
Yeah.
Kyle couldn't tell you a bank account.
I feel like you do a lot with the cars, even like oil changes and stuff, don't you?
I do my own. He does his. Well, he takes it somewhere.
Ryan does all the car stuff. That's one thing. Like, we have very traditional, like, blue jobs, pink jobs. Right. Which I don't even like the whole concept of blue job, pink job either. I mean, I know it works for some couples, but
Kyle's not a blue job kind of guy. Generally.
No, he's not a blue job kind of guy.
So he'll pay someone to do the blue stuff, right? Yeah. But he's techie. Like, he takes care of all of our stuff with this. Like, he does what he can with what he's strong at. He's not going to change my oil, but he will edit the pod.
So then my question to you, and I guess for me, like, we both do have husbands that do jump in and help. I do way more housework than Ryan, but if I asked him to do something, he would do it. He does not assume it's my responsibility. He cooks a ton. He does all the grocery shopping. Like, he does a lot. My question is, though, why? What was my question? My question is, why are we still so, like, overwhelmed and anxious with it all? Like, we have support, so what's the issue?
Because it's not those domestic things that are the issue.
Yeah. How could they relieve that from us, that mental load? Where do we put that mental load?
I don't know that they can.
Right.
That's the problem. Like we said, for myself, I'm a bit of a control freak. So I could be like, okay, this time, Kyle, you were planning the vacation.
Oh,
he probably could do it, but I'd be micromanaging the whole time.
Yeah.
Or I'd find something that I was like, oh, I would have done it this way, or I would have spent $500 less because I know, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And then I'd just be annoyed. So I might as well just do it myself.
Well, maybe we as women have to take ownership over the fact that we are taking over and we aren't giving.
So we're not to blame them.
It's not their fault. No.
And take it on ourselves.
It does make sense that there is one person that is handling everything with appointments. There is no need for Ryan, when the kids were little, to know every single field trip. There was no need for him to know. For sure.
Like, he had nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it. He's not going to go along on the field trip.
He's not dropping them off or anything.
He has legit nothing to do with it. Yeah. There's no what I want him to look at a calendar and be like, oh, kids have this tomorrow. It's absurd.
But maybe that's what we need. Maybe we just need to check in. What's this weekend look like?
Yeah.
What can I do this weekend to help? Like, maybe that's maybe that's to know that they know that you're overwhelmed helps.
It's acknowledgement of it.
Maybe.
Because everything I was kind of looking at about it was saying the default parent notoriously gets burnt out, gets resentful, gets is overworked. Like it's a actual chronic issue.
I think there's something to be said though about the fact that just the other parent knows that the default parent is under that much more stress and that much more pressure and just has that much more going on. I like you said, just acknowledgement even goes a long way, instead of and not turning themselves off when they come home from work. Like that must be nice. Like, oh my goodness, worked a hard day. If you feel like taking a nap today, you can just go take your nap, because it doesn't matter if 3 kids have to be 3 different places. No. You just worked all day. You can take a nap. Well, I probably also worked all day, but I'm not saying this for myself personally, but that's the case, right? Like often men, they do their job and then they get to choose what they do after that.
Yeah. I there's this lady that I kind of follow her stuff, and she, during COVID, she ended up starting, like, she has like a doctorate, but she like works out of the house from home or whatever. But her whole point, and even with stay-at-home moms, her point is, and she gets a lot of criticism for this, is when he gets home from work, that's also when my workday ends.
Yeah.
And now shared parenting happens.
Right.
So a lot of parents, and women are especially hard on her. They'll be like, no, his job is to go to work and your job is to take care of the kids.
That's still a
And
job.
she's like 24/7.
Yeah.
My job is to take care of the kids around the clock.
Yeah.
Like that makes no sense. Like the stay-at-home mom still needs to know that when husband gets home,
it's shared.
It's shared now. She's done this all day long. And then people will say, well, what's she doing? She's just sitting at home. She's just blah, blah, blah. Like she's not as if she's doing housework all day.
You know what, though? I would take those days over these days. Like I would take the days where I didn't have anywhere to be and I am just cooking and cleaning all day because I don't have anywhere to be. That's what my job is. And that's all I have to do. That didn't stress me out.
No.
It's now that I have other things to do, plus manage my 3 children's lives where they're all doing different things at different times.
Yeah.
I would love to go back to the days where my kids were not in school yet and you're just at home with them. You didn't have to get dressed if you didn't want to. You weren't leaving the house. If you had to go grocery shopping that night, well, you do it quick after the kids go to bed. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was freedom with that still. Yeah. Kids went to bed. They weren't out late, and you're not like
worrying
or kids forgetting their keys, which one of mine does all the time. So I get at 12:30 at night. Oh, can you unlock the door? I'd love to lock the door for you, right? They don't text dad. They text me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they know that you're going to...
Because I'm already waiting up anyway, because they're not home. Again, that's a whole other aspect of it too. Yeah. Kyle sleeps just fine when the kids aren't home. I don't.
Here's an example. Ryan doesn't answer any unknown number at all. I'm like, so your 2 kids and your wife are out of the house... Right. And there's an unknown number calling you and you're not going to answer it?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah, well, if it's important, like, you'll leave a message. I'm like, I could be like...
your last call.
My last
could be
call.
Your only call. Yeah.
And you didn't answer. How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Not worried about it. If my family one family member is not home, I will answer any call that comes in. Unless it says Taiwan.
Right.
Like...
Of course.
I'm going to assume it might be them calling.
Kids.
And they have calling from friends' phones before.
Because their phone dies.
Yep. How do men just turn off that worry? Like the freedom that must be.
And I thought as they got older, that would be, it just gets worse as they get older. It's way worse now. Because now they're out of my house. They're not.
And it's adult problems now. Like
totally.
When they're in elementary school, the most you really have to worry about them is how they're doing with their friends at school, like kind of those.
Are they being a jerk at a sleepover?
Are they being kind of like, do they get into little tiff with another friend?
Right.
Those are the big issues. Do they get into the class with all their friends next year?
Right.
Like those are the big worries.
Yeah.
Now it's like, what are they doing with their futures? Are they going to be good humans, good adults? Did
somebody they got into a car with have a drink and I don't know it? Or they didn't know it?
Are they making good choices away from the home? How are they getting home?
Yeah.
Are they being idiots? Like, and their life, some of these things could be life-altering bad choices.
Absolutely.
It's way more stressful now. I don't think that, I mean, I'm sorry for parents with young kids, but it doesn't get easier.
No.
It doesn't
I
get
keep
easier.
telling that to people. People keep saying, stop saying that. But I'm like, it's true. My life after graduation, or I'd say even grade 11 on, not even after graduation, but grade 11 on, good luck to y'all.
Are there moms out there that just don't worry? Just,
Yeah. Yes, I think we've talked about this too, just briefly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have known people that really have no idea what their kids are doing. And I do. I know what their kids are doing.
Right.
So I know that they don't know, because if they knew, they'd probably say something. But it's not my place. Unless someone's in danger, I ain't saying anything to another parent. That's not my...
No.
I'm not ratting out another kid.
No. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I've heard before, like, and people did tell me before, like, once they can leave your house, you never sleep until they're home again. I wonder if, I mean, I'm sure that changes once they're living outside of your house.
And it does a bit. Just even with Brooklyn, stays at her boyfriend's and stuff on the weekends or when she needs to. When she's out there, I'll like check it. I still have like Find My Phone on for her, so I'll check at night to see like, oh, is she home, like at his place or whatever. I will check in and stuff like that, but it's not the same. When I know she's not supposed to be coming home,
you're not waiting.
I'm
for
not
her
waiting
mentally.
up for her.
Yeah.
So I can see that it does get easier once they're out of the house. I can see that, but mine just aren't out of the house yet. So
yeah, I just really wasn't prepared for it all. And then I feel like, was I like did I just have my head?
No, because our parents weren't. I'm sorry, my parents weren't waiting up for me at night. They weren't.
No.
My mom wasn't waiting, and
no,
I just know she wasn't.
We're just so much more worried now. I think it's because we see everything on social media.
Maybe.
All news is everybody's news. All bad news you hear. Like, I was on Facebook, and like my son goes to school like in at Imagine on Young, and I saw this thing where it was like, pedestrian hit at the corner of whatever, and I'm like, oh great. Now I'm worried about my kid. Like why am I worrying about that?
I heard a whole bunch of sirens today, and I could hear they're going down the street where the senior high is, where my child is. I can hear, because from where I am, I can hear where it's going. Like, what's happening at the senior? They probably weren't going there, but right away I'm like, great, should I text my kid, make sure everything's fine? I didn't, because that makes me crazy, I feel. But
yeah, it just never ends, I guess. This is a bit of a tangent topic, but I was thinking about it the other day. Like life is so much harder than I ever thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if that's like because of the way I was raised in a very like sheltered, if you're a Christian, everything works out for you. Give it to Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then as I've aged and had kids and things don't go the way I expect it, and things can be devastating and heartbreaking, and I feel like I'm so blindsided by it. Like, does everybody...
It's a gut punch every single time.
Yeah, like it does... Like, is that a common experience, I wonder? Because I just feel like, if you would have asked me as a teenager, I would have really thought that because I was a Christian, things were just going to be okay. If I married a Christian man, if I kept my purity for that man, and I was obeying all, you know what I'm saying?
Everything will just fall
into place. Like, how idiotic and naive, and why did I ever think that? Why?
I don't know, because even if you think like our families were a bit different. I grew up in like a single family home. My mom got married when I was later. You grew up traditional,
a little more idealistic, right? Yeah, it's true.
So but I'm trying to think, even like I never felt that way either, even though I definitely went into life just thinking everything would be okay too.
Does everybody go into life thinking everything's going to be okay?
No, I don't think so.
I think
we were
so
naive.
Either. I think we were naive. I totally think I was naive.
I wish I wouldn't have been naive.
Me too.
Because it rocks your world.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I wasn't emotionally or mentally prepared for the tough things in life. Like, I don't know how.
Because they were never going to happen, because why would that ever happen to you or your children or anything?
Maybe it's a privileged perspective. Like, people who are raised and don't have tragedy at a young age kind of are raised in this kind of blissful ignorance.
No. Yeah, but I had stuff in my life, so it's not like I was free from
knowing what the real world was about.
Yeah, I don't feel like I was naive to that. But at the same time, I think we really were just taught that everything just does work out for the good.
For those who, whatever. Yeah.
It doesn't always work out for the good.
It really doesn't. No.
No matter how hard you try.
No. You aren't guaranteed or promised anything. And I think in life, I really thought things would just end up going the way they were
wanted
the way I wanted it to go. Yeah. How do you like teach that to your kids? Like, because obviously our kids are.
I feel like I've almost missed it already.
Maybe, yeah. Because our kids are raised also in very comfortable, easy lives.
Maybe too comfortable.
And that's no fault of our own. We're not going to throw adversity their way. Like who's going to do that on purpose?
Not throw adversity, but maybe let them live through more adversity. Like, for myself anyway,
let them
I definitely think I was a rescuer. I think I did too much.
Yeah.
Which is also, I think, part of the whole mom problem in itself. We're probably creating more
totally.
than that's needed as the primary or as like the manager mom.
If as a primary parent, you're continuously managing your kids, rescuing your kids, not letting them feel the hard stuff, when they end up going through it at an older age, it's going to be, I wonder, no tools.
Totally. I wonder sometimes too, just even, again, this is going from my experience, I'm in my kids' business a lot too, right? So if I wasn't in my kids' business as much, maybe it wouldn't be as hard on me because I wouldn't know how, like, it's not like my parents knew every single thing that happened to me.
Yeah. I think you being in your kids' business is your sense, like, is a fake sense of control. Like,
if for sure is
if
what
you know about it, then you can somehow,
which is is not the case.
No, it's not the case. It's just torturing yourself.
Yeah.
It's like you have to like make a mental decision to just better not to know. It's fine.
Well, hit me hard in the face recently, so I have to make changes. I have learned through things. I have to make changes. I have to stay out of things maybe more.
For your inner
peace. For my own mental health.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. Like, I think when it comes to like being the default parent and the mom and the warrior and the one with the anxiety or everything, you have to protect your inner peace because you're no good to anybody if you don't have your own inner peace.
You also become like the secret keeper,
right?
To some respect. Like there's some things that Kyle just doesn't need to know.
Yeah, I know.
And so I carry that.
Yes.
Right? I might share with friends and stuff, but like just, it's not the same as your partner knowing as well. But sometimes it's just not worth it. If it's not anything that's like life altering or.
And sometimes you need one parent to not
just
have that in their head.
I agree.
To have that kind of, I don't know.
Bliss,
that freedom from it. And then that kid can have a relationship with that parent without that parent
any strings
knowing
attached to that.
I don't know. It's kind of a little bit, I don't know if my husband has that with me and the kids. If there's anything that he keeps from me.
Probably not.
Again, it's the mom.
I can't see any of my kids going, like even, I thought maybe my son would sometimes go to Kyle, but no, he still seems, I can tell when he's had a day and he kind of like leans on my bed or just kind of like hangs around a bit. And then I'll be like, what's up? And then he'll, they come to their mom.
I know. Moms just become like the carrier of everybody's burdens.
Maybe that's just our lot in life.
I know.
As gross as that sounds, maybe that is just how it's supposed to be. Maybe men couldn't handle it the same. Maybe they weren't built for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's important to acknowledge that men and women do have separate strengths and skill sets and mental fortitudes for certain things. And I think there's a certain, like, I don't think kids need both parents to be exactly the same. Could you imagine if Ryan was as anxious and worrier and like as worried about things as I was. Like,
it would be
it'd be a nut. It'd be a nutso house. Like they need to have that balance. I mean, I hide it pretty good for my kids. I don't think they know the extent of how much I actually worry. But
my kids can tell I worry, and they still only see like a 16th of what's actually going on. Like,
yeah. I mean, it seems blissful to be a man. Like I know men like, back in the day though, men had carried the weight of feeding their families and making sure there's food on the table.
And I still think they do. I think that's kind of built into them too. I think they have to be the provider. Like that's what's in their head, right? And
truth be told, like if, the apocalypse happened, it'd be on them.
For sure.
It would not be on us.
No, it will not be me fending for my family. We starving if it's me.
And I think it's just, maybe that's what part of the problem is that like women also need to acknowledge their partner's strengths and what they're doing for the family. But men, it doesn't come as easy for them to acknowledge what their wife is taking on mentally as well.
I think they don't know.
I don't think they know either. I
think it's important that my husband does, because I talk about this to him, right? But we also always come to the conclusion that I'm a control freak and I'll just do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, so it's fine. But I think for a lot of women, and that's not vocalized to their partner.
Not at all. No.
And it's important that
they think,
men
what's
know.
The point?
Yeah, exactly. Because again, just acknowledgement. I think for women, acknowledgement is just so much.
They just want to be seen.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women too are like, well, I do it alone anyways. Like, I think it starts to like eat away at marriages.
Sure.
Like he's not offering anything to this relationship. Resentment starts to build because you're not communicating about what your needs are.
I wonder what happens in the event of like a divorce then.
Right.
1 week on, 1 week off.
Yeah. That's why women
does that mom still become the default in that situation, or does dad have to take over half the time?
Dad has to take over.
Do you think women just step away and actually for that week just
think
are
they
like
have to?
So if your kid misses something big, it's
I think it probably depends on what the relationship is between like the partner, like the ex-spouses. Like if it was me and Ryan, we would obviously like, I think we would still communicate like, hey, they need to be here at this time. But when there's like actual like hate and they hate each other,
no, they're not speaking,
and a permission slip comes home on Monday for the Thursday and you're not with the kid that week, I think the dad would probably have to
need help, or maybe they'd have a stepmommy to help with that.
Yeah. And the stepmom often does too.
Yeah.
I don't know, or the teacher would be phoning the dad and being like, hey, we don't have your permission. So I think the dads do step up. Like even when I've been away for a certain amount of time, it's amazing what
they can do.
Which
is frustrating.
Yeah.
I never thought about that, actually. Drives me nuts. I'll go away for like a week. I come home. The kids talk about how good dad's cooking was. I was like, shut your pie hole. Because dad doesn't cook anything besides nachos when I'm home.
Yeah.
So I'm so great that steak was so nice for you.
We have a joke in our family that when I was away once with my mom it was a while, like 10 days or something like that he just kept making them soup.
like fresh or out of a can?
Out of a can.
Oh, okay.
So the kids are like, oh my, like the whole week they were like, oh, not soup. They couldn't eat soup for like ever after. I'm like, why did you just continuously feed them soup?
Because it was easy.
That's exactly what he says. Because it's easy. So I'm like, soup. Because I'm like, no, this was a joke in my house. Like, not soup. And he can cook. Like, he's a good cook. But but he can, like, he would organize things. But still, I'm still writing down. They had this day, that day.
I write a novel before I leave.
Yeah.
To the point where I have each meal written out too often. And I have the ingredients sitting there, anything that's not non-perishable, already all put together. Like if I'm gone for a while,
I don't do it.
When they were younger, not so much anymore. Now if they're hungry, they eat. Like it's not, I'm not worried about them. Back in the day, and it was often my mother-in-law or my mom would be here also helping, or so I want to make sure they have as much assistance as possible, because Kyle's gonna be like, I don't know.
Right.
So I always make sure I literally write a novel. It's ridiculous. It used to be like step by step where everybody had to be at what time. because everybody had to be somewhere. Someone had soccer, someone had football, someone was at dance. Like, it was impossible. So
to go back to your comment that you said before about like teaching our sons, is there anything you could possibly say to your son that is going to, or even your daughters, like they're learning by what they're seeing in their own households.
Right.
So when they get married, they'll be like, oh yeah, well, the mom took on this and dad did this. Like, that's just kind of what
I think you should take on what works for your
dynamic.
Yeah. I think for sons, though, I think there's a lot that we can do with sons, actually, that we don't necessarily, they're not taught. It's assumed that they're going to know things. They'll figure it out when they're older. I think it's important that even topics like this, I think it's important that at a younger age, they know to like check in with their spouse or know to not leave everything on. Like, yeah, you work 9 to 5, but your job's not done after that. If you have kids at home, you're still a parent and you're still on the clock.
Yeah. And the woman in the house is not the servant to all.
Exactly.
Like, no. I really hope that when our kids, get married, if they get married, that there's a bit more communication with that, because I just fell into, like, we've come such a long way, but when I first got married, him and I both worked full-time in Langley. We commuted together. We'd come home, I would make dinner, I would do the dishes, like I did everything, because I felt that's what
you do.
Wives do. And then I started having kids and I realized I can't do it all. I can't. I actually can't.
Do you think it's just generational? Maybe we're just part of that generation still. Like, maybe it has changed like maybe millennials don't do it like this.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I haven't spoken to a millennial about it.
About
that dynamic in a marriage.
The stuff I'm seeing though, like in like social media, is a lot of millennials complaining about the default parent being like them feeling resentful or like feeling over. So I
being the default.
It's still happening, I think, with millennials.
I think it's just a male female thing, unfortunately.
There has to be a default parent. There just has to be,
and it just ends up being the female.
So it's just like, if women talk about it more, which we never seem to do.
Okay, but if you were sitting down and talking to like a couple, and the guy's like, yeah, I work 9 to 5, whatever. The wife works too, maybe not as much because she manages the kids as well. And then you hear that the husband comes home and makes dinner and he cleans and he does this.
Right,
now you're thinking, what's wrong with the woman?
Yes, that's such a good
point.
Like,
we automatically go there. Like, why isn't she doing her part? That's her, like, right? Like,
that is such a
that's
good
what
point.
I would think probably. It's like, what's wrong with, why isn't she, what do you mean? Why isn't she doing it too?
Yeah, like I used to always, like, when I hear about like women who were stay-at-home moms that just have a newborn and men that work, and then the woman would make their husband get up in the middle of the night to feed the baby, like if she was bottle feeding, I'd be like, come on. He works. Why are you making him get up?
Yeah,
I guess it's just what works for that dynamic.
Some guys are Kyle never did maybe once, like honestly, with all 3 kids, that was never his thing. And I never because again, he was working. I was not
a stay-at-home mom at that point.
I could take a nap if I had to at some point, right?
Yeah.
Well, not maybe once I had 3 kids, but it was manageable. I didn't have to be doing something out speaking to people in the public. I could still be at home.
You can lay around a little bit if you're extra tired.
Exactly. So I would have never, ever been like, oh, could you just get this one? But I know there are some families where the guy is happy to get up with, like, it's, I don't know. It's all dynamics, right?
But it goes back to that thing, like, if the woman is home with her kids and she's only with children all day and she's tired and she's managing and she's doing this and that and the other, makes dinner, husband comes home, and then they're both shared parenting now.
Like, he takes them and gives them the bath or something that night. Like, it's even those little things. Like, even if she's making dinner, you both work, she makes dinner, she throws a load of laundry, and maybe just switch over the load of laundry. Or instead, or be like, tonight I got the kids, like, I'll throw them in the bath tonight. Like, it's those little things. It's just like a one thing off of the list of things to do. Because again, it's just assumed, oh, my wife will get them to bed. It's not usually the husband's like, all right, kids, time. Oh, or maybe it is. Maybe that just wasn't the dynamic in my house. But
if the wife was like, okay, husband's home, sits down on the couch,
right,
husband takes over,
right,
I would be like, okay,
like, what's wrong?
Like, That's where my traditional stuff comes in. But I'm like, you can't even make dinner for your husband. He's home from work. Make dinner for your husband.
Right.
You know?
Even though you've probably been at home with the kids all day.
Going crazy.
Dying.
Maybe rent. I'm not saying like, of course you can order in some days or whatever. Have a lazy fend for yourself day, which we do. But like, I have all these preconceived traditional notions of what.
That comes later in life though too, right? You can't have a fend for yourself night when they're little. Someone has to feed the kids.
I just know that if my husband worked all day and then he had to come home and make dinner, I would feel so guilty.
And that's how I mean, I do have a job, but I can stay at home to do it. And I do work at the studio, but it's only a couple times a week, right? So obviously I feel that pressure all the time. Like some days I'm just exhausted for whatever reason and I won't make dinner, and I like double check with Kyle. I'm very lucky he's not high maintenance with food. He'd be like, I'll make nachos. I'll do this. I'll
eat a bowl of cereal.
Exactly. He does not care. Where some guys almost demand a meal be there for when they get home.
I know several.
Several too. Yeah. They expect dinner, whereas that's
whether the woman worked or not.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's never been an expectation on me, but I still feel horrible if I haven't provided dinner.
I'm very apologetic for sure. Like even today, I kept on like saying Ryan was home today. I worked, but I work at home, so it's a bit of a different mentality on that, exactly. Right? Yeah. Like I'm still just as tired, but I kept on saying I don't feel like cooking. He's like I don't expect you to. Yeah. Like you work today, I didn't. Like don't worry about it. We can fend for yourself. But that being said, the kids come down and it's a whole what's for dinner? I'm hungry. And then I feel that responsibility to like, I should have probably should get dinner on or whatever.
Meanwhile, they're 19
they can fend for themselves. Like everyone, they can drive to McDonald's and buy themselves whatever. Like
or skip the dishes.
Yeah. Like there's no, but I still kind of feel like that
mom guilt.
Where Ryan would be like, go get something to eat. Where I'm like, I should probably feed my kids. Like, is this stuff that we choose to take on?
We need to retrain our brains.
We do need to retrain our brains. Like we're taking on more than we need to take on. I mean, and I'm very lucky to be in a situation with a spouse that's very supportive and I can talk these things out with, but not everyone has that.
I think the majority don't have it actually.
You think?
I do. I feel like the majority of people I've spoken to about this, it's not I mean, my house isn't 50-50, I wouldn't say either.
No, ours
again,
isn't either, but
I take on everything.
By choice.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I'd say the majority of couples are very traditional still. And men expect a certain standard from their wives.
And then women are just falling into these roles, overworking themselves.
And out of tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we need to fix it. Because every person we've even spoken to is all like, yes, why am I the default parent? Why?
Who told me that this is what I have to be?
Right. And we all resent it. As women, we're all like angry about it, but at the same time, not doing anything about it.
And then our anxiety just gets more and more and more, and we're just not. We don't even know how to fix it. It's almost too late.
Nothing's too late.
Yeah.
Maybe in our own dynamic, because our kids are older now. But it's not too late to instill that in them
or retrain your brain. Let go of the things that you can't. You don't need to carry everybody's burdens. It's not necessary. Like at some point there has to be this is their problem. This is their problem. If it falls apart, it falls apart. It's good for them. It's good for them. It's good for them to go through things. I don't want them to be like me and be shocked when things go wrong. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like I mean, obviously I'm not as shocked anymore, but when I started getting into my 20s and things started going weird and bad and wrong, I was not
prepared.
Not even a little bit. No fault to my parents. I just think it's the childhood I had and how I was raised and my we
definitely had mild.
But then I now I know I actively tried to shield my kids from anything being unnecessarily hard. Yeah. Don't do that.
Don't let them have adversity.
It makes them better people. It just does.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I was told that, and I still did. It's hard to let go.
It's hard. It's really, that's the hardest That's probably the biggest advice I give to parents is to let your kids struggle
fail.
and let them fail. It's also the hardest advice to follow.
So hard. It's so hard.
Letting your kids fail. Oh, like how, but nah, you got to do it.
Yeah.
It just makes them better humans in the long run.
True story. Is that all you got to say about that one?
I think so. I think my little
default parent rant.
It's not. Yeah, I don't know if it was a rant so much as it was a I don't know. I've been thinking about it. You got anything for me?
I don't today.
Before we say goodbye?
No.
Going away this weekend?
I am going away this weekend. I'm taking McKenna and her friend Davina to San Diego for a concert.
I love San Diego.
I don't remember the last time I was in San Diego. I don't even know if I've actually been to San Diego.
I feel like you're gonna like San Diego.
Yeah. It wasn't as warm as I'd like it to be. It's right on the water. So I'm assuming that's why it's only like 20 degrees this weekend, which isn't, it's not horrible, but it's not, I'd like it to at least be like 25, 26.
That's a little cooler than it should be.
It's okay, I can wear jeans. I was just thinking shorts weather, but it's okay. A hoodie and jeans.
Beginning of June, I thought it would have been at least in the mid-20s, high 20s even.
Yeah, no.
Because you're like on the border of Mexico almost there.
Yeah, but it's right on the water.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they're just getting the ocean breeze. It's like Vancouver is always way cooler than Chilliwack.
That'll be good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm not going to the concert.
That also will be good.
I don't know any of his music, but they're graduating, and I thought it would be just something
that's nice.
fun to do. So we're going to go for 3 nights, and we'll just suntan and eat, and then they can go to their concert. And
that'll be good.
Yeah, it's needed.
All right, well, we'll have a good weekend.
You too.
Talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Happy spitting.
Oh, yeah, we got to spit tonight.
Yeah.
23 and V. I'm not going to stop saying that until
23 and V. Yeah, you watch for that episode.
Yeah.
Good
Stay
times.
tuned. Stay tuned to find out if Velvet has misophonia. We know she has it, but if she has an excuse.
Exactly.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.